And we are live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Shawn, coming from London, Ontario, and this is Scumbags Wrestling Podcast number 129. Tonight, we're going to be looking at some of the news that's happened this past week in WWE, especially the release of Zelina Vega and all the ripple effect that's going to happen with that. Then, we're also going to look at this weekend's Survivor Series pay-per-view, where going to run down the 6 matches that are supposed to happen and give my predictions on that. And of course, we're going to turn everything over to Jonesy at the end of the show as we take a trip down memory lane. He sent me a 12-page list of everything that's happened. Okay, it's actually 11 because the 12th page was only a little bit on there, but there's a lot of action that went on in the month of November. Next week is going to be just as full, but I want to thank you all for joining us. And before I bring in Chris Jones, I have one announcement to make that we did last week, and that's this.
Hey wrestling fans, it's Shawn from the Scumbags of Wrestling. It might not look like Christmas right now, but it is around the corner, and you won't want to miss out on this amazing deal in support of Sick Kids Hospital on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Right now, if you contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, you'll get this amazing t-shirt designed by Nigel Lewis for just $30. And because it's Christmas, I'm going to throw in this stocking stuffer of a poster, 11 by 17, for free. Now you can still get this poster for $15, but you can get the whole combo for $30 right now until December 15th. So contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com and support Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and Steven's Wrestling Journey.
So yes, as you just saw, Christmas is around the corner. You don't want to miss out on this amazing deal. The t-shirt and poster, all for $30. 22 stars of the Ontario independent wrestling scene. Contact me. I can even personally deliver it to you depending on how far away you are. But we're going to give money all to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Now, like I said, bringing in Jonesy from Niagara Falls. How are you tonight, Jonesy?
I am pretty swell.
Excellent. Good to see you. Hopefully things are well on your end. You got the Niagara Festival lights going on there. It looks really good. A couple of extra additions to the displays this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it out that way, but there's always another year just staying home, staying safe, and watching wrestling. Yourself?
I'm mostly staying home. I go out for walks around here, but I mostly avoid all the people I can. It's nice out there. It's definitely dead. I went down to the hill and down to the horseshoe today, and very few people around.
Understandable. It's a shame.
It's like old WCW shows, man. Just no one around.
Yeah. Well, we're going to jump in with the news. As I said earlier at the start of the show, one of the major news items that came out this week was the release of Zelina Vega. She had just been getting a huge push on Raw and got moved over to SmackDown, and now she is actually gone from the company. And a lot of it stems from the fact that she apparently gets a lot more money by being on Twitch and Cameo than she was even making as a WWE superstar, especially right now with no house shows and everything else going on. And I guess also when she signed her contract, it was before AEW existed, so she was on a lower end of the scale of getting paid as opposed to those who were paid extra money to stay and not go to AEW. So this also is a relation to the Andrew Yang situation there. He's looking to help support WWE talent and get better deals for them because they're independent contractors who can't work anywhere else. Unlike other wrestlers, even for AEW, they can work other promotions. But if you work for WWE, you're just working there, yet you're supposed to be independent. It also is reflecting on the fact that they can't do the Twitch and cameos unless they're under WWE names. Now, I kind of get that, and we've talked about it before, but if they're using their own name, I think it's a different situation. But if they're trying to make money off their trademark names, then of course, I don't blame WWE offices for saying, hey, you're making extra money off our product. Yes, it's your body and everything, but it's our name that's getting people there. It'd be like somebody taking a sleeve of cups from McDonald's and selling drinks on the side of the road and pocketing that money and not giving McDonald's any money back for it because of their logo and everything, and people expecting McDonald's. It's two different things, yes, but it's almost the same sort of concept. If somebody's selling themselves as their WWE character and making money off it, they should benefit the company that you're representing as well, and they should dictate in a way what you're saying, because it could reflect badly on them, especially as a publicly traded company. Now, I think there's also uproar, people saying, oh, what about Bruce Pritchard? He still has his deal with Conrad Thompson and doing his podcast. Yeah, he's an employee actually of WWE as opposed to an independent contractor. How can he have both? But he also negotiated that when he came back to WWE and to work for Vince. So Jonesy, with sort of all that, and also before I let you throw in your thoughts, the president of SAG, Screen Actors Guild, is also getting involved and possibly going to bring in wrestlers to be a part of the Screen Actors Guild, which does include actors, singers, production people, stunt people. So I can see where they kind of would fit under SAG. But your thoughts on everything that's going on there, Jonesy?
I think once Vince McMahon is out of the picture, those things will move along a lot faster. It's inevitable that eventually a union is going to get their grubby little hands on wrestlers, because it didn't make sense for someone like SAG to come in. And I mean, these companies, they have a right to do it the way they are, but it's the workers that, if they want better things, then they have to start pressuring. But as long as there's wrestlers out there willing to work the WWE way, then it's going to be very tough for anyone to really break into being a union person and working for the WWE, because they don't. Yeah. And I think if they went that way, they would get their own union. Like, they would find a union.
And that's the thing there as well. Like, for everybody who wants to stand up like Zelina Vega did and say, no, I'm not giving up my Twitch and cameos and all that other stuff. Yeah, they're going to say goodbye to you. And there opens up another spot for somebody who does want to work there. Like, everybody who wants to go there knows the situation. It's not something that's a surprise, yet the people still strive to go there. And it's all about negotiating as well. Bruce Pritchard, he negotiated and talked like an adult to get it done, not sneak around and set up their own thing and try and score money under the table, or, well, obviously in public, but, on their own using trademark stuff. So I think any wrestler, regardless of their union or not, if they're good at negotiating, they're going to get what they want, or they're not going to go. It's all about being an adult and doing their thing. I would hate to see any union in sort of wrestling, because of the fact that if you look at way unions are in regular work environments, yes, they're going to help you get benefits. They're going to help you get medical and retirement funds and all this other stuff. But there's a dark side to it where if you're a moron and you can't work, you use that system and you get to keep your job so many times. So if you're a horrible wrestler, how are you going to get rid of this guy?
I think what they really need is they need people that are better at managing wrestlers, people that will fight for their wrestlers, and basically everyone kind of has to be in the same pool that, well, if you don't give this stuff to us, then we just won't work for WWE anymore. But unless there's a bigger competitor out there that is going to be able to, because nobody can go against the WWE except for, say, New Japan or something. They unless you have deep pockets and have been around for a while, you're not going to compete with them.
Yeah, and then
So
you have AEW and the con money. Yeah, that's a lot more than the McMahon money is, but you know, there's only a certain length of time. The guys like Jericho and Rhodes and all them can say, "Hey, this is what we should be getting," and Tony nodding and agreeing. Yep, 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 yep. Because you know, I guess Chris Jericho's mentioned the fact that if when they were traveling, they were getting their hotels expensed and stuff like that. Well, of course, Tony Khan's going to throw that out there to get people to be there and treat them like they would the Jacksonville Jaguars, but not every. That's not going to last forever.
No, it's not. And I mean that's something. Give it a year or two more, and then we'll see if AEW actually has enough to continue. It's their
stuff.
Their product, the wrestling is fine, but the rest of it is a hot mess.
Yep. So, getting off that subject, we're going to continue on. Some news and notes include Chelsea Green made her long-awaited debut on WTV. She had made an appearance and then disappeared back to NXT, and then disappeared again, got brought up, and hadn't been seen. And she got brought out for SmackDown to qualify for the women's team, and fell off the ring and broke her arm or wrist. And quite the way to debut. And I guess they were also going to call her Victorious instead of Chelsea Green. But thankfully they didn't announce that, because she definitely was not victorious. And Liv Morgan ended up taking her spot and getting the win to go to Survivor Series this weekend. Drew McIntyre ended up showing up on SmackDown as well, and that set up a interesting situation for the match with Roman Reigns. And sure enough, Drew McIntyre ended up winning the championship back from Randy Orton this past Monday, changing what's happening on Sunday. There's talk about Edge versus The Fiend instead of Orton at WrestleMania 37. And if that happens, it could also be a mixed tag match involving Alexa Bliss and Beth Phoenix.
Ugh. God, no.
Okay, so
I disapprove.
Yeah. Karrion Kross has been working out hard again and could be returning at any time. It looks be well ahead of schedule from his shoulder injury. WWE is okay. Alexa Bliss got engaged this weekend to Ryan Cabrera. I guess they got introduced by The Miz and Maurice, and so that ended up making its rounds on social media. Aaliyah and Murphy might end up having some marriage angle on SmackDown now that he has the blessing of Ray and Dominic. And a lot of people still are upset over the 11 to 13 years age difference, whatever it is, between them. But storyline is storyline, as long as it's not real. But even if it was real, she's of age, he is, and so be it if it is.
You know what? These people need to get it's fucking wrestling.
Exactly.
And the fact of, okay, were you okay when Dominic is adoption papers were up for grabsies, and like come on, I think they've had worse storylines,
Yeah.
and so what? It's that hot angle.
Yeah, it's working for them right now. So who knows? It might end up turning into Murphy going back to being a heel. He just turned on Seth and just going to go against him tomorrow night on SmackDown. But, this is a way also getting rid of Seth Rollins because Becky Lynch is supposed to be giving birth to their child later on next month. Just your thought on this. I know you're adjusting your lighting, but last week on AEW, Jade showed up and challenged Cody Rhodes on behalf of Shaquille O'Neal. Of all people, Shaquille O'Neal wanting to work and do AEW. This same guy who I'm pretty sure is retired from basketball and is just doing analysts on TNT. So there's your connection between AEW and Shaq. But he was around at the WCW time when it was around and hanging out with Hogan and all that, and has appeared in WWE recently and was wanting a match against Big Show. But WCW has been out of business for almost 20 years, and he wants to get into a program somehow in AEW involving Cody. Thoughts?
Again, how about you pick somebody that actually, is relevant? Shaquille O'Neal, they're just rehashing old shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised Dennis Rodman hasn't come in. Like, come on.
Karl Malone.
Yeah. I don't get that. That definitely won't get me to watch it.
No,
I would have no interest in that.
It's not putting asses in seats, as Tony Schiavone would say. Speaking of asses in seats, there won't be any in house shows because apparently WWE is going to be done with those, at least for the time being. If they see a need for it and there's a lot of people clamoring for them, of course they're going to bring it back. But for now, they have announced that they're going to be done with house shows. They're just going to be a TV company at the moment. And that's going to allow, I guess, some of the talent to be able to renegotiate their contracts since they're only working 1 day a week or maybe 3, depending on if they're needed on SmackDown or a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Brody.
I agree. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Brody Lee is out of AEW at the moment with an injury. And so John Silver has been the face of the Dark Order, and he was with Anna Jay last night trying to promote her getting a title shot against Sheeta next week. As I said, Seth Rollins is taking time out for a little bit as Becky's going to be having their son soon, and they just released some photos of them prior to the birth, and those were available online. Last weekend, Impact Wrestling had Turning Point. The North lost their titles to the Good Brothers, and Su Yung dropped the title back to Deonna Purrazzo after only having it for about 2 weeks after having their last pay-per-view. Aleister Black, who's married to Selena Vega, asked for a move back to NXT. He felt his career was better there, but apparently that has been denied, and we'll just wait to see when he gets brought into SmackDown if he'll end up suffering any punishments like people think that Lana is because of Rusev or Miro over in AEW, and that's why she's getting put through the table so many times as a backlash of that. And people are thinking that Aleister Black might have some backlash with his character because of what happened with his wife, Zelina Vega. Otis is apparently going to have a program with Chad Gable, who looks like he's going to be doing something smarmy, uh, and almost like a fitness guru as well. They're going to probably be making fun of Otis being fat. WWE signed indie star Alex Zane. The Rascals had their final match this week on Impact Wrestling, and they're rumored to be going to NXT soon. Undertaker asked Triple H to have a job at the PC being a coach, but they'll have to figure out the travel between Florida and Texas since he lives in Texas, and doubt he's going to want to relocate like Shawn Michaels did to Florida. WrestleMania date, it seems we wanted to be pushed back from March 28th, I think they were saying, or 22nd, to early in April. Vince is still hoping to have fans in attendance, and you never know with the way things are going in Florida. It's a crazy scene.
Maybe that'll be one of the last things that Donald Trump can do is pass a thing that the Rumble can have, lots of guests.
Well, they are still hoping to have people at the Rumble for this January as well. Pac reforming Death Triangle with Lucha Brothers, and they're going to feud with Eddie Kingston and the Butcher and the Blade. So once again, AEW is building up more factions, and a lot of them are just 3 members. And there has been a rumor since the last Jericho Cruise that they are going to be introducing eventually a trios championship into AEW, and they'll accommodate all those 6-man tag groups like SCU, the Death Triangle, Orange Cassidy and Best Friends, all the other groups that are starting to form with 3 team members. So that's coming soon. They showed that on this past episode of Dynamite, where the Lucha Brothers sided with Pac and against Eddie Kingston. Former WWE diva Melissa Coates, who's also been Genie with Sabu, recently had to have her leg amputated due to medical complications. Marty Bell is done with NWA, and their women's division seems to be almost down to 0 because whoever is still around with their women's division are all hanging out at AEW with their title over there. And sadly enough, the NWA women are more highlighted and talented than the AEW women. So they're taking the spotlight away from the AEW women, and they just inserted Britt Baker into that situation with the NWA women. But yeah, they're got 2 different levels of women over in AEW, and it's sad that another company is leading the way. Matt Sydal also signed with AEW this week, and AEW saw Will Hobbs turn on Cody and joining Team Taz, so another 6-man tag issue there with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage along with Will Hobbs. So there's another group for trios. Omega ended up signing a contract to face Jon Moxley on December 2nd edition of Dynamite for the AEW title after he won the Eliminator tournament, beating Hangman Page at the pay-per-view. But for some reason, Moxley was attacked and was not able to come out and sign the contract. So hopefully next week they'll figure that one out. But earlier in the show, Moxley did an interview or a sit down and talked about his family, but also subtly mentioned that him and Renee are expecting their first child. So congratulations to Moxley and Renee Paquette on their upcoming addition to their family. And she has a podcast coming and also a cookbook. So she's been kept busy after leaving WWE. Inner Circle went to Las Vegas and they got all drunk and stupid there. They even had Elvis part of their group. There was drinking contest between Jericho and MJF. MJF was cheating at cards. You could tell the dynamics of Ortiz and Guevara still hating MJF, and Wardlow and Hager not liking each other, and eventually it's still gearing towards Jericho getting kicked out of the Inner Circle and turning face. So we'll keep that playing out, but they had a second part, which was just a rehash of the movie The Hangover, where it ended with Hornswoggle crying in a diaper. Yep, originality at its finest over with AEW. As I said, Moxley with the best match, one of the best matches on last night's show included Serena Deeb taking on Thunder Rosa, and that was for the NWA Championship. So craziness. PWI debuted their first ever PWI 50 tag team issue, and number one was FTR. There's a mystery woman coming to NXT, and this is involving the story with Boa and Xia Li. Boa had been marked with ashes, and there's notes involving Xia Li's family. So they're doing a whole Chinese sort of lore, who knows, maybe mafia-ish sort of angle going on. We'll see how that goes. War Games was announced last night on NXT, and they'll be doing it at TakeOver this December on December 6th, and they'll have Undisputed Era taking on Pat McAfee and his crew, including Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and I'm drawing a blank, unfortunately, on Lorcan's tag team partner at the moment. Kevin Owens is going to be on commentary next week for NXT. This will hopefully be an addition for ratings because it is Thanksgiving week there in the U.S., and people seem to tune in when Kevin Owens is around because he did that last year and even took part in War Games on Tommaso Ciampa's team. So who knows if he's going to get physical next week on NXT, but he is expected to be there. JTG said that he'd like to see Shad Gaspar get a Warrior Award from WWE, part of the Hall of Fame, especially with how he ended up losing his life, but while saving his son from drowning. And a lot of people obviously are regarding Shad Gaspar as a hero in that regards, even though unfortunately he lost his own life in saving his son's life. So would not be surprising if he does get somehow honored with the Warrior Award, and it'd be well deserved. So I would agree with JTG. And finally, WWE confirmed today that December 11th, they are moving to Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay, Florida, and moving everything from the Thunderdome in the Amway Center over to Tropicana Field. It's a baseball stadium, and that's where they're going to be starting with SmackDown live on December 11th. They have to be out of the Amway Center on December 5th. So still up in the air, I guess, where the Raw will be on December 7th, whether it will be pre-tape before they finally pack everything up from the Amway Center, or if they'll sneak into the Capital Wrestling Center where NXT is filmed and at least do an episode of Raw there before moving to Tropicana Field. So that is everything in wrestling news that I have for this week. Except for also, I'll show the two videos of the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, which you have time until the end of this month to vote for. And when we come back from all that, I'm going to run down the card for this Sunday's pay-per-view Survivor Series.
You know what Tyson, Tarek, Brett, and Jody Threat has in common? They all support Scumbags Wrestling. And if you buy this poster or shirt, all the money goes to my charity. So please buy one.
And so, as you see there, CWN is presenting the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. You can vote now until the end of the month for legend, male athlete, female, tag team, sharpshooter, siren, MMA, and honor award. We're also going to have a special 9th award, which will be done on January 18th, which is the 12th anniversary of CWN Online. So get out there, vote, and there's a lot of worthy people being nominated for the first ever class of the CWN Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And Jonesy, have you gotten to your voting yet?
Heck no, not yet. I will. I just I like to procrastinate.
A lot of people to research to see who is getting in there.
Yeah, it's just finding time to do everything. And again, I'll do it. I just,
Understandable.
taxes, just
Oh, I hear you. A lot of things going on in this world. So, like I said, vote now and check out the website for CWN Online and the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. But as I said, when we came back, this weekend is WWE Survivor Series, and they're taglining it the best of the best. And once again, it's like a bragging rights edition of the WWE going against each other. Of course, because of COVID, the excitement that they actually were able to put in last year by having all three brands go against each other and invade could not happen this year. So NXT is on the outside looking in, and that's why they're also going to be doing their takeover event on December 6th. So there is currently 6 matches announced for this weekend's Survivor Series. 2 of them are traditional elimination matches, and then the rest are champions versus champions. So to run the first one down, and this unfortunately tells a lot about where WWE is sitting with their, I guess, production and how they've presented themselves. Because when I went looking for the match previews and the pictures to put up that I'm going to, they didn't have a picture for Team SmackDown. They only had Team Raw, which consists of Keith Lee, Sheamus, AJ Styles, who wants to be the team captain, Braun Strowman, and Riddle. Now they're going to take on Team SmackDown, and that has Baron Corbin. Yeah, that's how much I've. Baron Corbin's on it, along with Kevin Owens and 2 others. Yeah, they really have not built up the whole thing with the Survivor Series. They've done more of fighting between themselves, and it's just not really going to be thought-provoking for this year's elimination matches, at least. And sorry, I'm just going to bring up whoever else is on Team SmackDown. Jey Uso is one of them because he was one of the first entrants, and Seth Rollins, and they have a fifth member yet to be determined. So they haven't even completed their team yet, and that's happening on Sunday. I think in this case, because they haven't even done much on the SmackDown side of inner fighting, and even though SmackDown did win the men's match last year, I think they're going to win it again this year. And that brings us to the women's side of things. And once again, they have not completed the women's match side of things on SmackDown. But for Raw, they have Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lacey Evans, Peyton Royce, and Lana. So she's bound to go through another table again. And they're going to be facing off against the team that only has 3 announcements so far, being Liv Morgan, Ruby Riott, and Bianca Belair. In this case, I do see the Raw women taking this one just because they want to build up Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. And they might even surprise people and have Lana be the sole survivor for her team. I heard some rumor that she gets could get put through a table yet again, and all of a sudden, Team SmackDown does end up pulling out the victory and realize, oh, Lana's still there, and she rolls up the last member of SmackDown to surprise everybody and get the victory for Team Raw. I like that scenario. It's not surprising, and of course, they're going to use it as comedy more so than anything. Speaking of comedy, but I think it's going to be a really good match. The New Day, the Raw Tag Team Champions, taking on the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits. I think these 2 teams are pretty evenly matched. Jonesy, your thoughts?
Is there anything on the line?
Bragging rights.
Oh,
Just bragging rights.
yeah, you do.
There's nothing on the line, and that's been the problem with even the thought of the men's team or the women's team going against the other side of SmackDown. Like, what does the winner get for this other than woohoo, we won? At least maybe give them a wish list that they can submit to the office to say, hey, if my team wins or if I'm the survivor of this, I earn this.
Why not have a kind of a money in the bank type of clause that if you win that match at Survivor Series and you're the champions, then you get, if you lose the belts within, say, a year, you automatically can get a rematch that night, like right after that. Basically, instant make it two out of three falls, like something to make it so there's something on the line. It's just bragging rights. Who gives a shit? It's wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. And they work all for the same company.
Yeah.
Chad Peterson mentioned about the Thunderdome moving to Tropicana Field on December 11th. And the sword that Drew McIntyre had was given to him by Vince, which was bought by Triple H and Stephanie, and given to Vince McMahon on a trip to Scotland years ago. So, yes, thank you, Chad.
Basically, Vince McMahon regifted.
Well, used his own thing as a prop, basically.
Yeah, you regifted. I mean, it's a nice regift.
It's not like he gave it to McIntyre, though.
Oh, he let him use it.
Let him use it as a prop.
Wow.
But, yeah.
I guess it's still nice, but,
As I said, the tag team champions are going to go against each other. I see in this case, I'm going to go with the Street Profits winning because the New Day has won a lot of times, and I think the Street Profits could benefit from a victory over the New Day in their first ever meeting. Then the mid-card guys are going to go against each other as we have Bobby Lashley, the United States champion over on Raw, taking on the Intercontinental champion from SmackDown, Canada's own Sami Zayn. I unfortunately see this being the squash match of the night with Bobby Lashley disposing of Sami Zayn really quickly. Not that I want it to happen, because I'm a Sami Zayn fan over Bobby Lashley, but just the way they've set Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business up, it would only make sense that this is a squash match between these two mid-card champions. Then the women's champions are going to go against each other as the Raw Women's Champion Asuka is going to take on the SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks. Now, surprisingly, unless Bayley ends up taking one of the two remaining spots over on SmackDown side of things for the women's team, she's not going to be on this card or she gets involved in this match. I do see Asuka picking up the victory, and that's the downside of some of this. They're not going to have all clean match victories. There's going to be shenanigans to make somebody and both champions look strong still and not ruin it. And that's where the booking decisions for this sort of setup really hurt the show.
So is there actually any titles actually on the line?
No.
What a piece of crap garbage show. Like, really? Like, the only thing that makes it somewhat interesting in wrestling as far as following it is the belts. But when you have that many belts and you're not going to actually defend any of them on the show, there's another reason why I don't watch mainstream wrestling anymore, because the wrestling is good, but everything else is crap.
It's the stuff on either side of the bell. The finishes don't make any sense anymore. Everybody gets 50-50 booking, and yeah, and that's where just put up Chad Patterson's or Peterson's last comment that he's looking forward to seeing Undertaker because they're going to do a special send off of the Undertaker again. We talked about this last week, but I guess you're going to probably see the Godwins. You're going to see Rikishi, Savio Vega, Kane, and Papa Shango or Charles Wright, whoever he wants to come out as the Godfather, all being there. There could be other surprises showing up. And I don't know if this actually should close the event and go out on a high note, or if the last match should be the finisher, because the last match is for the main event champions, and the newly recrowned WWE champion Drew McIntyre is taking on the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, who has Paul Heyman by his side.
Paul Heyman's looking better and better every day, man.
Yeah, and you wonder why
He's
they made a
he's a freaking
walrus.
cartoon character.
They made a walrus puppet of him for the Firefly Funhouse when they were going to be doing stuff with Bray, but then they switched Bray over to Raw, and so I guess the walrus is going to go away for a while until they can realign them. But I don't know how you get out of this match either. A lot of people want to see this match a lot more than they wanted to see Randy Orton against Roman Reigns, and that's why this sort of the title change did go back to Drew this past Monday, because this matchup seems better. But once again, how do you get out of it without making Drew look weak or Roman look weak? And the only answer I have in this, which answers your kind of question, Jonesy, is there any title on the line? Well, if you have The Miz pull a Seth Rollins, like Seth did at WrestleMania, you have both champions in the ring at the same time. The Miz could try and cash in his Money in the Bank that he just got off Otis and make this an actual championship match with both titles on the line, but The Miz loses. One of the champions beats him. The match is over. Both champions look strong, and the Money in the Bank briefcase is gone. It's played, and both champions look strong. Your thoughts?
I like that. Or you can have it where The Miz actually pins them both. And now you have which championship did he just win? He can pick the championship that he wants, and then the other one goes up at the Royal Rumble.
Anything's possible, yeah. Be quite the
And really, this match where it's champion versus champion and nothing's on the line, why don't they do it kind of like hockey and other things, where if whoever wins that belt, then that's the main event for WrestleMania? Like that's the actual closing one.
Yeah.
Closing will be either this belt or that belt.
Like, they don't even have a stipulation. I would do that with even the mid-card title and say whoever wins that gets number 30 in the Men's Royal Rumble, and the one who loses is number 1 in the Men's Royal Rumble. So you're already filling that spot, getting people geared up for Royal Rumble, and at least there's some sort of stakes on the line for it.
Yeah.
But that is actually, before I do close this and turn it over to you, Jonesy, your thoughts on the whole Undertaker farewell?
I mean, I personally, I think if they're going to do this type of send-off and all that, the Survivor Series, it's just not a big enough pay-per-view to do that at. And especially with COVID, it's like, to me, it's the amount of times that the WWE celebrates some of their guys, it gets nauseating. It's like, yes, The Undertaker is great and all that other stuff. However, his matches weren't always the best on the show. Usually it wasn't the best on the show. And it's like, yes, he's a legend, but it's time to move on. It's actually when I first started watching wrestling, and occasionally you'd see like a guy like Killer Kowalski, and they're like, "Oh, he was awesome! He was awesome!" And you're looking at him now, and it's like, who cares? Who cares if he was awesome 30, 40 years ago? I don't give it. I don't care, because I don't want to see really the Undertaker anymore, unless he's going to be in a Royal Rumble or something. But it shouldn't matter, because you pass the torch, you want to train and all this other stuff, fine. And hey, I give it to the Undertaker being able to, still get on the big card and all that. But to me, as a wrestling fan, it doesn't interest me anymore. I don't care that they, like, hoop-de-doo, all these people are going to be on the show. How many times have they been on other shows? Like,
yeah, and she said his first couple of years of being the Undertaker, his matches were not that great. You look at matches against IRS, Kama Mustafa, Bundy, just some garbage matches that you want to forget about. Giant Gonzalez, just like, even Jake Roberts at WrestleMania was not the greatest, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
The Undertaker really wasn't the Undertaker until years later, as far as being much better at wrestling and presenting. And I think that a lot of them are like that. Shawn Michaels, to me, was like that, where, yes, he had good matches and all that, but he really didn't, to me, I didn't find him much different than anyone else until the second run, where he just showed how good he was, that not only can I do that once, what I just did, but I can do it again and even better. And but and a guy like Shawn Michaels, I actually respect the fact that he's done very few matches since his retirement.
Just one. And that one he should not have done, because that was the Saudi Arabia train wreck with the Brothers of Destruction and DX.
Horrible. That should have been either a Rumble or a Survivor Series type match, where treat some of them like again, what Ricky the Dragon Steamboat did was pretty good. It's guys like that who, even Roddy Piper, when he did that match at WrestleMania, people said, "Oh, he wasn't very good." He was never very good at wrestling. He was great character, and he knew how to sell and all this other stuff. But the match itself was pretty much the same goddamn one every time you watch his matches. There was nothing like his mannerisms I love, but it's just like a sitcom where the person says their same lines over and over again every week, and it's like,
Well, Cena with his 5 moves of doom, Bret Hart with his 5, Hogan with his 3 moves.
Well, yeah, a lot of it. And again, like at least Bret could mix it up, but they did do this too many of the same moves consecutively, and but that's another show, I think, of these wrestlers that you watch again, like how they go on about Ric Flair, and it's like, yes, he's great and all that, but he was far from a good wrestler in the ring as far as the wrestling itself.
Yeah,
he knew how to sell and everything, but now it's more about the moves and that than, because those guys would try to tell a story in the ring, but it was the same story. I know what they're trying to do, but it's like, you've seen this before. It's just a different guy,
Exactly. So, I'm going to let you take a quick drink, because I'm turning this over to you with This Week in History.
All right. Get my mouse over to the other screen. Here we go. So this is November 13th to the 19th. There is a lot of Survivor Series stuff in here. I'm not going to go through every single match that was on the card. I just picked the matches that seemed to be important or something did in fact happen interesting in the match. So anyways, here we go. So November 13th, 70 years ago, Vern Gagne defeated Sonny Myers in a tournament final to win the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. 37 years ago, Tony Garea and Dean Ho defeated Toru Tanaka and Mr. Fuji to win the WWF Tag Team Championships. 25 years ago, in Tokyo, Japan, Kensuke Sasaki defeated Sting to win the WCW United States Championship, and the first foreign-born United States champion since Roddy Piper did it in 1981. 20 years ago on Nitro, General Rection got soft in England and lost his WCW US belt to Canadian Lance Storm. 15 years ago, TNA presented Genesis. The show featured the TNA pay-per-view debut of Jay Russo, a.k.a. Christian Cage. The show was dedicated to Eddie Guerrero. 15 years ago today on Raw from Manchester, England, Jeff Hardy defeated Johnny Nitro to win the WWE Intercontinental Championship. On a sad note, on the same episode, Flair and Piper lost the World Tag Team belts. 13 years ago today, at a SmackDown taping in Wichita, John Morrison and The Miz defeated Matt Hardy and MVP to win the WWE Tag Team Championship. 9 years ago today, TNA presented Turning Point from the Impact Zone in Orlando. This show saw Jeff Hardy beat Jeff Jarrett 3 times in a row in mere seconds between each fall, and AJ lost to TNA World Heavyweight Champion Bobby Roode. And it is a happy 44th birthday to the once-in-a-century talent, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Born in Ogaki-Jufu, Japan, Tanahashi graduated from the New Japan Dojo and made his in-ring debut in October of '99 against Shinya Togi Makabe. He was stabbed in the back by TV Asia reporter and ex-girlfriend Hitomi Hara for reals in 2000. This made him a bigger star because the incident made national news. That's right. The wrestling cliche actually happened to him. He was stabbed in the back by his own partner. He would return to the ring in 2003. 2 months after his return to the ring, Hiroshi would become the first IWGP U30 Openweight champion. 2005 was a big year for him as he traveled to North America for the first time and teamed with Shinsuke Nakamura for CMLL in Mexico. He and Nakamura would feud for years over the top prize in IWGP. On July 17th, 2006, Tanahashi defeated Giant Bernard to win the that's hilarious, to win the IWGP Heavyweight title for the first time. Later that year, was that who that was? A-Train?
Giant Bernard, A-Train.
Oh, there you go. What a crappy name. Later that year, Tanahashi became the first 2-time winner of the New Japan Cup. At Wrestle Kingdom 3 in 2009, Tanahashi defeated his mentor, Muto, to become the IWGP Heavyweight Champion for the 3rd time. Tanahashi would go on to have a long and successful career in amazing matches with everyone from AJ Styles to Okada. So we're going to move to November 14th. 28 years ago today, Fox aired the final episode of the original WWF Saturday Night's Main Event. The Ultimate Maniacs, Warrior and Savage, defeated Money Inc., DiBiase, and IRS by countout in a WWF Tag Team Championship match. Shawn Michaels defeated the British Bulldog to win the WWF IC belt. Bret Hart defeated Papa Shango by submission to retain the WWF Championship. 21 years ago, WWF presented Survivor Series 99 from the Joe in Detroit. The show is noted for two things. The in-ring debut of Kurt Angle and Stone Cold getting hit by a car so he could have surgery on his neck, and Big Show took his place in the championship match, much to the delight of the fans, and won the gold, defeating Triple H and The Rock. Plus, Big Show won his team's Survivor Series match in 87 seconds on his own because he beat up his partners beforehand. I don't think I was watching a lot of WWE at that time because I just don't remember that. But that's funny that he beat up his own team and he won it. That's kind of funny. 16 years ago today, WWE presented Survivor Series 2004 from the Gund Arena in Cleveland. Spike Dudley won the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. Shelton Benjamin defeated Christian and retained the WWE IC belt. 15 years ago today, WWE presented a special episode of Raw in tribute to Eddie Guerrero, recent passing. Also, the next night at SmackDown, they did another tribute show. Today would have been the 90th birthday of British wrestling legend Shirley Big Daddy Crabtree. There he is. Look at that big mother. Crabtree was a former rugby player, coal miner, and served as part of the Coldstream Guards of the British Army before following in his father's footsteps and becoming a professional wrestler. At one time, he was in the Guinness Book of World Records for his 64-inch chest. His name, Big Daddy, would be based off a character from the film adaptation of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. He would be devastated in 87 when, in a match, after performing his trademark splash on King Kong Kirk, Kirk was sent to the hospital where he died because of an undiagnosed heart condition. Crabtree passed away on November 14th, 97. Shirley also had a brother and 3 nephews in the wrestling business at the time of his death. And one thing that's not in there is when that guy did die, it had nothing to do with Crabtree because of that undiagnosed heart condition, but he did feel bad about it. November 15th, 37 years ago, in Allentown, Pennsylvania, at a TV taping, the Soul Patrol, Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson, defeated the Wild Samoans, Afa and Sika, to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. However, the Wild Samoans still would actually defend the titles on the house show circuit until the title changed air on December 9th. They were able to do that stuff because back then there was pretty much none of this internet stuff. You had to be super rich to be on the web back then. 31 years ago today, NWA presented Clash of the Champions 9, a New York knockout. The Midnight Express, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane defeated the Dynamic Dudes, Johnny Ace and Shane Douglas. Steve Williams defeated the Super Destroyer. Ric Flair defeated Terry Funk in an I Quit match to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And there's a guy I think that actually deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, is Shane Douglas. That's a guy that, yeah, he didn't win a lot of big belts and all that, but he was around for a long time.
But he burned a lot of bridges.
He might have burned a lot of bridges, but to me, it's like, Shane Douglas was in all of the promotions, and he did put on decent matches. So I don't know. I've always liked Shane Douglas. It's just unfortunately he doesn't have enough. He didn't have enough of whatever they're looking for to be a major championship in the big leagues. Anyways, 22 years ago today, WWF presented Survivor Series 98. This was the second time there was no traditional Survivor Series matches. Instead, they did the Deadly Game, where the winner of this one-night tournament would be crowned the new WWF champion. Sable defeated Jacqueline to win the WWF Women's Championship. And Mark Marrow was the special referee, which, who gives a shit? That didn't do nothing for the match. It was boring. The New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg Jesse James and Badass Billy Gunn defeated The Nation, Owen and D'Lo Brown, and the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, in a triple threat tag match to win the WWF Tag Team Championships. And the Deadly Game tournament winner was The Rock by submission, by the submission Montreal Screwjob, rehash style, finisher that they had on Mankind. 16 years ago on Raw, William Regal and Eugene defeated La Resistance, Conway and Sylvain Grenier, and Rhino and Tajiri in a three-way for the World Tag Team Championship. 15 years ago in Rome, Italy, Nunzio defeated Juventud to win the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. And after the match, Juventud got drunk and probably got into more trouble. 14 years ago, TNA Impact debuted on prime time with a 2-hour special. Samoa Joe defeated Jay Lethal. The Naturals, Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens defeated Team 3D, Brother Devon and Brother A, in a tag teams tables match. Christian Cage defeated Rhino in a barbed wire 6 sides of steel cage match. And Christopher Daniels defeated AJ Styles and Chris Sabin in a 3-way match to win the TNA X Division Championship. And, of course, Kurt Angle defeated Abyss. 12 years ago today at UFC 91 in Las Vegas, Nevada, Brock Lesnar defeated Randy Couture by, of course, Couture, I think it is, by TKO. Sorry?
Randy Couture.
Couture, there you go. I do have a little bit of a speech impediment when it comes to certain names. I just can't get my lips to do certain things. But not as bad as a kid because I did get therapy. In the second round, to win the UFC Heavyweight Championship, the win made Lesnar the first man to win heavyweight championships in the NCAA, WWE, New Japan, and UFC. 11 years ago today, TNA presented Turning Point from the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando. Lots of matches, including Tara defeating Awesome Kong in a steel cage match. That's one I want to Google. I'd like to actually see that one. 10 years ago today, WWE presented its first ever old school special. WWE Legends appeared, and the set was modified to look like a 93 episode of Raw, complete with the old Raw letters replacing the Titantron. The throwback matches were Ezekiel Jackson defeated the Brooklyn Brawler in just 50 seconds. Alberto Del Rio defeated Sergeant Slaughter. Mae Young defeated Michelle McCool and Layla in a 1-on-2 handicap, no disqualification match in just 54 seconds. The win made Mae, age 77, the oldest person to win a match in WWE history. A small note on this, I understand the Mae making it quick and all that because of her age maybe and all that, but the other ones, like, you can't tell me that Brooklyn Brawler couldn't have gone for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, like 50 seconds, come on. That's just, why bother? 5 years ago, Nicholas Warren, Francis Bockwinkel, or simply Nick Bockwinkel, died from an undisclosed illness in Las Vegas, Nevada. He was 80 years old. He was born September 6, 1934 in St. Paul, Minnesota. Bockwinkel took up wrestling after a knee injury, ended his football aspirations. Trained by Lou Thez and Nick's father, Warren, he began his wrestling career in 1955 at just age of 16. His first professional match was against Lou Thez. Nick would team up with his father for much of his early career and won his first major singles championship in 1963, the NWA Pacific Northwest Heavyweight title. Nick's first national exposure didn't come in a wrestling ring, but on a game show. He appeared on a 1968 episode of Hollywood Squares. He won his match, and he also had a bit of roles on The Monkees and Hawaii Five-0. We salute you, Nick Bockwinkel, for Horseman style. November 16th. 33 years ago, WWE holds a Legends Battle Royal at the Meadowlands Arena, honoring the legends outside the normal WWE WWF universe, which was a little odd at the time. They hadn't really, kind of accepted the fact that there was other wrestling federations out there. So that was kind of interesting that they did that. The Battle Royal was won by 71-year-old Lou Thez, who last eliminated Pat O'Connor, who was age 63 at the time, to win the belt. Other participants were Bockwinkel, Art Thomas, Bobo Brazil, Jay Strongbow, Gino Brito, Arnold Skolland, Eduardo Carpenter, Baron Cisaluna, Sicily Luna, sure, whatever. Al Castillo, the Crusher, Pedro Morales, Dominic Dunucci, Kelly Kowalski, Tony Gurria, Gene Knitsky, and Rene Goulet. Not to be confused with Robert Goulet. And Randy Savage's father, Angelo Poffo, didn't get an invite to the Battle Royal. The slight would cause a rift between Savage and Vince McMahon, a rift that ultimately would never be repaired. As Randy's brother Lanny put it in a 2015 interview with Wrestling Inc. 32 years ago today, WWF taped the 18th episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. The show aired on November 6, 2 days after Survivor Series. The Ultimate Warrior defeated Super Ninja to retain the WWF IC Championship. Macho Man Randy Savage and Andre the Giant fought to a double DQ in a WWF Championship match. And the Fabulous Rougeaus, Jacques and Raymond, defeated the Young Stallions, Paul Roma and Jim Powers. 27 years ago today, the Sandman defeated Don Morocco to win the NWA Eastern Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Belt. 26 years ago today, WCW presented Clash of the Champions 29. Johnny B. Bad defeated the Honky Tonk Man by DQ to retain the WCW World Television Championship. Dave Sullivan, Hulk Hogan, and Sting defeated the Three Faces of Fear, Avalanche, Kelvin Sullivan, and The Butcher. Mr. T was the special referee, and yes, folks, it is as bad as it sounds. It was a terrible
white hat.
24 years ago, ECW presented November to Remember. Louis Spicoli defeated Too Cold Scorpio in a Loser Leaves Town Gauntlet match. This was the final ECW bout for Too Cold Scorpio as he was leaving for the WWF. He beat 4 wrestlers before being pinned by Spicoli. The Sandman defeated Raven to retain the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. 24 years ago today, WWF held their Hall of Fame introduction ceremony from the Marriott de Marquise Hotel in New York City. The 96 class included Captain Lou Albano, Kelly Kowalski, Baron Michael Luna, Johnny Valiant, Johnny Rods, Pat Patterson, Vincent J. McMahon, and Jimmy Snuka. This would be the last Hall of Fame ceremony for the company until just before WrestleMania 20 in 2004. 22 years ago today on Nitro from Wichita, Kansas, Juventud Guerrero defeated Billy Kidman to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, and he went out and got drunk right after. 16 years ago today, WCW presented Millennium Final from Arena Oberhausen in Oberhausen, Germany. The Germany exclusive pay-per-view is the final international pay-per-view put on by WCW. The event was never released for American audiences and remains one of about a dozen pay-per-views not available on the WW network. We had some great, exciting matches, I'm sure, with Ernest Miller defeating Mike Sanders to become the commissioner of WCW. General Rection defeated Lance Storm via disqualification in a WCW US Heavyweight Championship match. Norman Smiley defeated Fit Finlay in an Oktoberfest hardcore match. Alex Wright and General Rection defeated Mark Jindrak and Sean O'Hare to win the WCW World Tag Team Championship. And Sting defeated Kevin Nash by submission to win the WCW European Cup. Boxer Axel Schultz was the special referee. 17 years ago today, another Survivor Series. That would be 2003. Team Angle defeated Team Lesnar, and it was 5-3. The survivors was Benoit and Xena in a Survivor Series match. Kane defeated Shane McMahon in an ambulance match. And Team Bischoff, Jericho, Christian, Randy Orton was the survivor. Steiner and Mark Henley defeated Team Austin, which is Michaels, RVD, Booker T, Bubba, and Devon. 5-on-4 in a Survivor Series match. As a result of the win for Team Bischoff, Austin lost his position as co-general manager of Raw, and Vince McMahon defeated The Undertaker in a buried alive match. I didn't even know this freaking happened. This would be The Undertaker's last match until WrestleMania 20 the following March. Goldberg defeated Triple H to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. 16 years ago today, at a SmackDown taping in Dayton, Ohio, John Cena defeated Carlito Caribbean Cool in 25 seconds to win the WWE US Championship. 6 years ago today in Beijing, China, Mai Yim defeated Evelis Velez to win the Shine Championship. On the same show, Johnny Gargano defeated Ricochet to win the Dragon Gate Open, the Freedom Gate Championship. All right, we're about halfway through now. Isn't that exciting? I need another drink here. Okay. So, November 17th, 24 years ago today, WWF presented the Survivor Series, 2006. The show featured, no, sorry, I'm wrong. That should be 96. Yeah, 96.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, 96. There we go. The show featured the WWF in-ring debut of its first third-generation performer, Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. Rocky Maivia, and oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. You know what? When he came in, I honestly went, yeah, he looks, fit and all that, but what a joke. You just didn't think that, okay, that's cute. Didn't know that he'd, go on to be a legend. So they did a Survivor Series match with the fake Razor and Diesel, which wasn't good enough to make the list. So I'm not going through that crap. The Undertaker did defeat Mankind. Mark Mero, Rocky Maivia, Jake Roberts, and the Stalker defeated Crush, Lawler, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Goldust 4-3 in a Survivor Series match, and Rocky Maivia was the lone survivor. Bret Hart defeated Steve Austin, and Psycho Sid defeated Shawn Michaels to win the WWF Championship. 23 years ago in Nitro, Rick Rude appears on both Nitro and Raw on the same night. Plus, earlier in the week, he was also on an episode of ECW. Over on Raw was the two-part Bret Screwed Bret interview. The interview was the birth to the Mr. McMahon character, a ruthless businessman who would go to any means to get his way for the betterment of his company. Consequences be damned. And it's really funny because when that happened, it was a completely different McMahon from the one we grew up with. It was really good. It worked so well back then. And then they beat the shit out of that horse. 22 years ago, at a Raw is War taping, Dwayne Gill defeated Christian and become the WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. Because WWF didn't care much for this belt anymore, Gill would hold the championship for 15 months, not losing it until February 13th, 2000 to S.A. Rios. 18 years ago, WWF presented Survivor Series 2001 edition. There was no elimination. Actually, that's probably not right. That's 2002, but what? There were no elimination tag matches on the show for just the second time in WWE history, but there were 3 elimination matches on the show, including the first ever Elimination Chamber match in company history. We've seen Jeff Hardy, Bubba Ray, and Spike Dudley defeat 3-Minute Warning, Rosie and Jamal, and Rico in a 3-on-2 in an elimination tables match. Billy Kidman defeated Jamie Noble to win the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. Victoria defeated Trish Stratus in a hardcore match to win the WWE Women's Championship. And the Big Show, there's more on this one. Well, a lot of stuff happened on this one. I don't think anything really. Okay. So the Shawn Michaels defeated Triple H and Booker T, Van Dam and Kane and Chris Jericho in the Chamber match. The win made Shawn Michaels a world champion for the first time since '98. 6 years ago on Raw, from Luke Harper, that was a bad edit by me. Anyway, 6 years ago on Raw, Luke Harper defeated Dolph Ziggler to win the WWE IC belt. And it's a happy 40th birthday for famed independent wrestler Mercedes Martinez. She was on the AEW second pay-per-view card and on Dark. Currently, she is signed by the WWE. It's a happy 41st birthday to Katsuri Shibata. Shibata, the Wrestling Observer's newsletter winner for Best Brawler in 2013, was ranked the number 35 singles wrestler in the world by PWI in their 2016 edition of the Top 500. And today would have been the 65th birthday of Ted Lipscomb, best known to wrestling fans as Nightmare Ted Allen. He was a four-sport athlete, edited the high school newspaper, and even did play-by-play for some of the games. At age 14, he was the ring announcer for the weekly matches at the Sports Palace in Cartersville. Allen made his pro wrestling debut in 1975. He would wrestle full-time by 1980 as one half of the Masked Nightmares with Danny Davis. For you that remember Danny Davis, wrestling under a tiger mask was almost a way of life for Allen. He was a Mr. Wrestling, a Black Tiger, even a Power Ranger for Smoky Mountain. Allen's biggest contribution to the business came as a trainer. He most notably trained Art Anderson, Ray Traylor, Scotty Riggs, Bull Buchanan, and referee Randy Pee Wee Anderson. Post-in-ring career, he promoted local wrestling shows in Georgia, ran a furniture moving business, and even built wrestling rings. He was 54. He had 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Now to November 18th. 28 years ago, WCW presented Clash of the Champions 21. Scotty Flamingo defeated Johnny B. Bad by knockout in a boxing match in just 61 seconds. That kind of surprised me. Eric Watts and Kensuke Sasaki defeated Arn Anderson and Beautiful Bobby. WCW champion Ron Simmons and 2 Cold Scorpio defeated Cactus Jack, the Barbarian, and Tony Atlas in a 2-on-3 handicap match. This was 2 Cold Scorpio's WCW debut, and he unleashed the 450 splash to win, believed to be the first time such a maneuver was executed on an American wrestling show. Medusa versus Paul E. Dangerously ended in the 5-minute time limit draw. This was actually the final television appearance for Heyman, as he would be fired a few weeks later for allegedly falsifying expense reports. Heyman would retaliate and sue WCW, claiming anti-Semitism. Heyman would get a huge undisclosed settlement out of it. And Ricky Steamboat and Shane Douglas defeated Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes to win the NWA WCW Unified World Tag Team Championship. 25 years ago, ECW presented November to Remember. Rey Mysterio Jr. defeated Psychosis in a Mexican death match. Bill Alfonso defeated Todd Gordon, and Beulah McGillicuddy was the special referee. Mikey Whipwreck defeated Steve Austin to retain the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. The Sandman was the original opponent for Whipwreck, but Austin jumped Sandman before the match and took his place. 19 years ago, WWF presented Survivor Series 2001. The hook of the show was the lone Survivor Series match that marked the conclusion of the invasion angle. WCW United States Champion Edge defeated WWF IC Champion Test in a title unification match. The IC Championship remained, though it was retired for a short period the following year. It was brought back in May 2003. The United States Championship returned in July of 2003. WCW Tag Team Champions, the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon defeated WWF Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff, in a steel cage title unification match. And Team WWF, The Rock, Jericho, Undertaker, Kane, and The Big Show defeated The Alliance, Steve Austin, Angle, Booker T, RVD, and Shane McMahon 5-4, with The Rock being the sole survivor, in a winner-take-all Survivor Series match. The win brought in an official end to the WCW and ECW entities, though ECW would be revived due to popular demand 4.5 years later, blah, 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 blah. We know that story. 13 years ago, WWE presented Survivor Series 2007. This show featured the return of Edge, who had been sidelined with a pectoral injury since July. CM Punk defeated John Morrison and The Miz in a triple threat match to retain the ECW Championship. Triple H's team of himself, Hardy, Mysterio, and Kane defeated Team Umaga, Mr. Kennedy, MVP, and Finley, and Big Daddy V. 5-3 in a Survivor Series elimination match with Triple H and Jeff Hardy being sole survivors. The Great Khali defeated Hornswoggle by DQ. My God, that must have been horrible. Randy Orton defeated Shawn Michaels to retain the WWE Championship, and Batista defeated The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. 9 years ago, Ring of Honor presented Survival of the Fittest 2011. 7 years ago today on Raw from Nashville, Tennessee, Big E defeated Curtis Axel to win the WWE IC belt. Today is the 44th birthday of Tomoaki Honma, born in Hagashine, Yaga. Oh yeah, this was hard to get through. Born in Hagashine, Yamagata, Japan. Honma trained in the Big Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo before debuting for the company in May of '97. He wrestled primarily in the lower card until making a name for himself in Big Japan's deathmatch division. His career took off from there. Honma's, whose nickname Mina no Koshi for his panache of trying and often missing his falling headbutt. Has a characteristically hoarse voice, sometimes made possible for having crushed vocal cords. The same affliction that most famously affected John Laurinaitis and Genichiro Tenryu. God, I can't even say that guy's name. Oh, well. November 19th. It's the last day. Hurrah. 54 years ago today in Omaha, Nebraska. Mad Dog Vachon defeated Dick the Bruiser to win the AWA Heavyweight Championship for the 5th time. 30 years ago today, at a WWF Superstars taping, Mr. Perfect defeated the Texas Tornado. Kerry Von Erich to win the WWF IC Championship for the 2nd time. 29 years ago today, WCW presented Clash of the Champions 17. This was the first Clash to be presented without an official subtitle. Steve Austin defeated Keanu News to retain the WCW World Television Championship. I'm sure that was a terrible match for Austin. Dustin Rhodes and Ricky Steamboat defeated the Enforcers, Arn and Larry Zbyszko to win the WCW championship, the tag team championships. Rick Rude defeated Sting to win the WCW United States Championship, and Lex Luger defeated Rick Steiner to retain the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. 26 years ago today in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Chris Candido defeated Tracy Smothers in the finals of a one-night tournament to win the vacated NWA Heavyweight Championship. Candido was the first NWA championship since Shane Douglas shit on it and threw down the belt back on August 27th. Other participants in the tournament were Devon Storm, Eddie Gilbert, Johnny Gunn, Al Snow, Tony Anthony, Jerry Lawler, Osuma Nashimura, and Lou Perez. Not really a great fucking bunch of people to go for a big belt, but hey, whatever. 25 years ago, WWF presented Survivor Series 95. This was the first Survivor Series to not take place on Thanksgiving Eve or Thanksgiving night. This was also the first pay-per-view event to feature the Spanish announcing table. Hurrah! Sole survivors are in bold. And that was for me, not to read, but oh well. The Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, defeated the Public Enemy, Rocco Rock, and Johnny Grunge. Bertha Faye, AJ Kong, Tomako Watabe, and Lioness Asuka defeated Alundra Blaze. Koyoko Inui, doesn't really matter. Asia Kong was the sole survivor, and that's about it for that. This was the final WWF pay-per-view for Alundra and all the other women for that matter. Alundra, less than a month later, turned up on Nitro, and we know what she did. Goldust defeated Bam Bam Bigelow. This was Bam Bam's final WWF pay-per-view as he left for ECW following the show. The Dark Side, Undertaker, Savio Vega, Fatu, and Harry Godwin destroyed the Royals, King Mabel, Jerry Lawler, Isaac Yankem, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley for nothing in a Survivor Series match. Undertaker scored all 4 decisions for the Dark Side, 3 by pinfall and 1 by countout. Shawn Michaels, Ahmed, and the British Bulldog, and Sid was the only one that was eliminated on that team. They defeated Yokozuna, Owen Hart, Razor Ramon, and Dean Douglas 4-1 in a Survivor Series match. Bret Hart defeated Diesel in a no DQ match to win the WWF Championship and ending Diesel's 550-day reign. 20 years ago today, WWF presented Survivor Series 2000. Steve Blackman, Crush Holly, Molly Holly defeated TNA, Test and Albert, and Trish Stratus. The Radicals, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and Perry Saturn defeated Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, Chyna, and K-Quick 4-2 in a Survivor Series match. Benoit and Saturn were the 2 survivors. The Rock defeated Rikishi. Kurt Angle was the champion, defeated The Undertaker to retain the belt. The Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, and the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff defeated Edge and Christian and the Right to Censor, Bull Buchanan and the Good Father, 4-3 in a Survivor Series match. Steve Austin and Triple H fought to a no contest and a no DQ match. Wait. What? A no contest and a no DQ match. Oh, yes, the match had to end because Stone Cold Steve Austin lifts Triple H's car via a forklift and drops it some 30 feet upside down with Triple H inside, so the match had to end, and, well, there you go. 19 years ago today on Raw from Charlotte, North Carolina, Vince McMahon, Kiss My Ass Club, was born, with William Regal becoming the first member. Congratulations there, Regal. Shane and Stephanie McMahon were fired. Ric Flair returned to the WWF after leaving the company in early '93 as half owner of the WWF. 14 years ago today, TNA presented Genesis from the Impact Zone at Universal Orlando. Kurt Angle defeated Samoa Joe by submission. The submission is the first time Samoa Joe was beaten in a match. And it would have been happy 60th birthday to Miss Elizabeth today, hadn't she partied with Flexi Lexi. So, that is all. What a beautiful face.
One of my favorite pictures of Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
So, yeah, that was a long drive down memory lane, but a lot of great events, great champions also crowned there, depending on who you're talking about, whether it's Mr. Perfect, Chris Candido, Big E, Shawn Michaels in his horrible brown tights at the Elimination Chamber in 2002. A lot of things went down in November, and there's still more to come next week. So I want to thank everybody for being a part of this week's show, whether you're listening to us on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or anywhere else. And if you've tuned into us live tonight on Twitch, YouTube, or on Facebook, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe, and go over to CWN online to vote for the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Votes are still accepted until the end of the month, and we'll be making announcements next month of who's getting in, with a show happening on January 18th. Also, be sure to get your Scumbags Wrestling t-shirts right now with the special that I have going on, with the whole package, getting the t-shirt and poster for just $30. 22 stars of the independent wrestling scene here in Ontario, and money going to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. We've been a little lax, unfortunately, due to scheduling issues on doing Fantasy Warfare Tournament. We're supposed to be doing Survivor Series. Hoping to get some episodes recorded and put out about that. But hopefully, if we don't get that done for this month, which I will be sad about, we are going to move on, though, to December. And you can see on WWE.com, they've done a tournament of 64 matches involving The Undertaker and greatest matches from different decades, including a wild card. We're going to take that tournament and see if we coincide with what the fans that voted on W Network did, and we'll do that as Fantasy Warfare Tournament for December. But as I said, this is the conclusion of the Scumbags Wrestling Podcast for this week. And I thank you for joining us. Jonesy, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
No, I don't think I do.
Okay. Well, everybody have a good night, and thank you for joining us.
Hey wrestling fans, it's Shawn from the Scumbags of Wrestling. It might not look like Christmas right now, but it is around the corner, and you won't want to miss out on this amazing deal in support of Sick Kids Hospital on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Right now, if you contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com, you'll get this amazing t-shirt designed by Nigel Lewis for just $30. And because it's Christmas, I'm going to throw in this stocking stuffer of a poster, 11 by 17, for free. Now you can still get this poster for $15, but you can get the whole combo for $30 right now until December 15th. So contact me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com and support Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and Steven's Wrestling Journey.